Hello, hello viewers. Welcome to GIPSTE TV. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. In our previous video, we talked about research problem. This particular research slides, we will look at research question because the research problem help the research question to come and stay. The research problem serves as the foundation that allow the research question to come in. So we'll be looking at research question as the main title. Then specifically, we'll be looking at how to convert the problem to the research question. One asks, what is research question? A research question is a statement about an area of concern, a condition to be improved, a difficulty to be eliminated, a troubling question that exists in a scholarly literature or a gap. So it's looking to the gap that you want to address in the literature. What actually informed the study? That gap is connected to the research question. That is the research idea. So once you have the idea, it must inform the research question that you intend to investigate. And it's also aligned with the research problem. Note that a good research question is practically seen as a lighthouse because it serves as a house that lights up the idea to the audience and to readers. So it must come with clarity, it must be amenable to testing, and it must also call for an empirical data collection. It is essentially meant to guide your research paper, since it is seen as a lighthouse. And it must also be able to pinpoint exactly what you want to find out and give you what a clear purpose and focus is. So remember that a good research questions must be seen as a lighthouse. All right. So now that you have a background about what a research question should be, then after doing some preliminary reading studies about the concept of the research idea to know or identify where the gap exists, and also going through the literature to narrow the idea from the broader field into a specific aspect of what? Your subject area. Then also clearly identify the research problem. Then it's now time for you to convert the problem into a research question. All right, so before you can do any study, first of all, you have to come out to the broad concept that you want to research, the research idea. So let's take, for example, we are looking at social media or maybe social networking. That is what we are going to look into. But one advice I want to give to audience or readers is that in writing your thesis or dissertation or maybe an article, you must try as much as possible to come out to the topic or a concept that might spark your interest, because some of the studies may take you some couple of years, days, months. So if you don't come out to the topic that will hold your interest throughout the process, you may not be able to do the study. So as a good advice that I want to give to readers is that in coming out to any research topic, make sure you come out with a topic that is relevant, a topic that may sustain your interest throughout the process. Very, very important. Note also that the following concepts inform the formation of a research question. One, the type of the research that you want to do. These two go hand in hand. It's more or less like a causality. Once you come out to an amenable research question, it must inform the design, the research design. The same way, the design that you have in mind, okay, must also inform the nature of the research question, because if you are going to do a quantitative study, the research question must reflect that. If it's going to do a descriptive study, the research question must reflect that. If you want to do a comparative research, the research question must align with that. If it's going to be an experimental study, you must see some comparison, okay? The question must reflect whether you may have a control group or maybe you may have what is called a treatment group. So you must see the two sides that you're going to compare to see the level of comparison. If you're also going to do correlational research, the research question must target some level of relationship that readers must also know. Another element that also informs the formation of the research question is the purpose of the study. Your purpose is always focused, it's directional. So the purpose is also going to tell you how to frame your research question. It should be aligned with the purpose, the title, and the problem, as well as the design that you want to utilize to carry out the entire study. All right. I will do another video about theoretical framework and how it informs study variables. I'll do it maybe in the next video. Let's look at components of the research question as a way to help and guide those who are interested in research, or maybe individuals who are new into research. There are certain elements that must go into every research question. And you also see in this video some criteria that we can use to assess how good the research question is. But before then, let's look at the components of the research question. One, a good research question must have interrogative particle. Then it must also have the research idea in terms of the concept that you're writing about within the field of study that you try to investigate. Then the scope or the organization or maybe the affected party is the same depending on the type of the study. Maybe it's about organization, it's about some group of people, it's about, these things you need to align with that, the affected party or the affected organization, the scope. Or if you put these elements together, you get your research question. When you talk about interrogative particle, we are looking at the how, what, who, why, and those elements. For example, let's look at the research question below. I'll give you two separate examples for you to utilize the 6 criteria that I will list at the end to assess whether it's a good research question or not. But now, the focus now is not whether it's a good or that, but we want to identify some of the key elements or the components of a research question. One, let's look at where the interrogative particle is. Look at the blue line. We have how. If you look at this example, we have how are online users experiencing or addressing privacy issues on such social networking sites as Facebook and Twitter. The reason why I'm stating this research question because I'm focusing on either social media or social networking. So this is the broad concept that I want my research study. The topic must reflect that, and the problem must also align with the social media or social network. There should be a problem that I want to address within. All right. So let's assume that it's about privacy issues. If the idea is about how to address the privacy or how online users are experiencing or addressing privacy issues, then that is what the research idea is about. Okay, but where do we want to address that, or where do you want to take the data from? On social networking sites as Facebook and Twitter. So these are the 2 main sites that we'll be utilizing to gather information about the online users regarding their privacy issues and how best we can address them. Who are the affected parties? Online users. So now we have the idea, which is addressing or experiencing or addressing the privacy issues on social networking sites, such as Facebook and Twitter. Why is the interrogative particle? How? Why is the research idea to highlight those that are highlighted in the green? Where is the affected party organization or the organization involved? We are looking at online users. Great. How do you know that a research question is a good one or not? How do you know the research question is good or not? There are 6 systematic checklists that researchers, students, practitioners can follow to help them develop a very strong research question. And they include these elements. 1, focus, researchable, feasible, specific, complex, and relevant. Every good research question must possess this. Must possess this 6 checklist. It's very crucial. They are unavoidable. All right. So when you talk about focus, a good research question should be focused. It should be focused because once it is focused, it will be amenable to testing, and it's also going to be researchable. Let's take these 2 examples. It's still on social networking or social media. The first research question is, why are social networking sites harmful? And the second is, how are online users experiencing or addressing privacy issues on such social media networking sites as Facebook and Twitter? These two are research questions. They are separate research questions targeting social networking or social media concept. But the first one with the RH is not a good one. Why? Because the question is on focus. It's not precise. It's broad. It has taken the position that networking is what? It's harmful. And it doesn't have direction in terms of where to take data from. It's not focused. But if you look at the second one, which is the revised version of the RH, is how are online users experiencing or addressing privacy issues on such social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter. If you look at this, it has interrogative particle, specifics in terms of the affected party and the research idea in terms of the issue that the study want to look into and where the data will be collected and about who, online users. Very important. Since this research question is focusing on online users, privacy issues on social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter, then it is what? Researchable. It's researchable. All right, so it brings us back to the next element that is researchable. A good research question must be researchable, no doubt. That means that a research question should be amenable to empirical data collection and testing. You should be able to collect empirical data on it, and it should give you the direction and where to take data. The answer to the question can be found by collecting and gathering empirical data as well as literature. So if you ask a research question and it cannot help you to find answer to the question by collecting empirical data, either through repeatable sources, whether it's secondary source of data or primary source, or maybe getting into document or literature in a qualitative way, then you have issue with the question. In this case, you can go for either quantitative or qualitative approach, depending on the design that you want to undertake to address the research problem as well as the question. All right. The next element is feasible. Feasible. You should be able to assess the research question, and the research question should be able to tell whether the work is doable within a certain time frame. So if you ask a question that is not directional, focused, and specific in terms of where, how, and the issue that you want to address, and it's not amenable to testing, you realize that you find yourself in a very tight corner, okay, to come out with data. So you should ask yourself, is it doable within a certain time frame? Is it 1 year, 2 years, 3 months? Is the activity duration set for 1 month, 1 year, or so that you know the type of question to ask and where to get data from? You also must ask yourself, do you have access to the data that you need for the study, or the right people to reach in order to get data, especially if you want to go by qualitative, or maybe you want to go by survey method, where you want to go and collect a primary source of data. Then you should be able to identify and know that whether you'll be able to get access to data. Accessibility of data is key once you want to look at feasibility. If you can't get data, it's not feasible, okay? And if you cannot do it within the time frame, maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, then make sure you need to think about the research question again. Because it really depends on your situation, especially the people you want to reach. So don't go and look for a topic which is more sensitive. You know, people will avoid you. All right, the next element that one's need to look at, one's trying to come out with a very concise, precise research question, then you need to look at specifics. What do you mean by specific? It means that all the terms that you use in the research question must have a clear meaning. Don't use any jargons in the research question. Every research question, the wordings in it must have a meaning. It must contribute to testing. It's very important. And it must also contribute to the way of what? Collecting data about the problem and how to solve the problem. It's very, very important to note that. All right. So the example use a specific networking site, as we saw earlier. This one, specific, that is, it use Facebook and Twitter. That is where you go for your data. It is also specific on the privacy issues and the who about online users. It is not ambiguous, it is specific, and it's also direction and focus. The next element is complex. Complex. If you look at the first question, it says, why are social networking sites harmful? It's not complex. One can answer it within just a sentence. It's harmful because blah, 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 blah. You know, it's harmful because people are not respecting others' view. It's harmful because so many issues can come up by just using even the literature or maybe guessing. So it's not a good research question. It's not precise. And already taking stance that is harmful. The social networking is harmful. So what are you looking for? Nothing. All right. However, a good research question must be complex. The research question should also be complex enough. If the research question can be answered with yes or no, or if it can be easily answered, then it is not a good research question. Take note. If you can easily use the literature to answer it in one sentence or a paragraph, then it's not a good research question. Think about it, revise it, and make sure it's a bit complex, but it's amenable to testing. It's measurable. And it also brings out the key variables that one needs to look at in order to help solve the research problem. The last element that I want to talk about is that relevant. Now, social media is the order of the day. Currently, this video is going to post into YouTube for audience, for the globe, for the people around the world to have access so that they can build their confidence in research. Social media is a critical concept. So make sure that the problem and the research question is relevant to your field of study and the society. Don't just choose any topic. Even though the topic must spike your interest throughout the process, but it must also what? Be relevant to the society. It must also help build on and help solve societal problem. You don't just do research, you do research to solve issues. Okay? Yes, so that is all about how to write a convincing research question. Thank you very much for subscribing to GIPSTE TV. And if you want more videos about research methods, policy issues, technological and education research, just subscribe to GIPSTE TV. Thank you very much for everything. Stay blessed.